Hello, hockey fans, and welcome to another edition of This Week in Wisconsin Prep Hockey. I am your temporary fill-in host, Bill Berg Jr., here with Bill Berg and Dell Scanlon this week. How are you, gentlemen?
Oh, I'm lovely.
Up and breathing.
This is a 2-week long edition of This Week in Wisconsin Prep Hockey. So we're going to start with the games of the week from, I guess, the week before Christmas. So Burglar managed to go to both of those that week, and he will talk about them now.
Yes, I did. The first one was on the Tuesday before Christmas, Chippewa Falls at Wausau West at Marathon Park. Um, in that game, Chippewa Falls got off to a slow start, or Wausau West got off to a fast start. West led 2-0 after the first period, and from that point on, it was just all Chippewa Falls. Um, They were out, yeah. West outshot Chippewa Falls 16-10 in the first period and scored 2 goals. And Chippewa Falls outshot them 40-6 for the over the span of the second and third period. Wausau West started freshman goalie Julian Scalcucci in the net. He had had one previous start that was a 44 save win over Wisconsin Rapids, 3-1 win. And in this one, he played well. When I was processing the pictures to put in the photo gallery, it was amazing just how many pictures was just like all of these red jerseys crashing the net in front of Scalcucci. But he did his job. He kept the puck out of the net in the first period. Um, Chippewa Falls eventually scored in the last minute of a 5-minute major head contact penalty. So they finally got on the board. A good play. Scalcucci made the first shot, but he went down to the ice to make that save. The rebound was picked up right away, and the skater stepped around Scalcucci and scored. But just I think it was Drew Bow got off the shot. Mason Johnson picked up the rebound. Um, but yeah, it was West was still up 2-1. Then just a fluke goal tied the score in the second or in the third. The shot went over the net, hit off the glass behind the net, and came bouncing back over the net again. Um, the goalie doesn't turn around for that shot, so it kind of hit him in the back. He tried getting a glove on it, but he didn't, and the puck went in and tied the game. And then a couple of defensive breakdowns for West led to the final 2 goals and the 4-2 margin. But Chippewa Falls, I'll mention this again in a later segment, that they are fast and deep, and they just wear you down. West skated with them for the first period, but could not keep up in the second and third. And Chippewa Falls came away with a 4-2 victory in that. Then later in the week, I took Brett with me. We went over to Cornerstone to watch the Central Wisconsin Storm play the Bay Area Ice Bears. This was a very good game. Two teams are very similar. They're both aggressive on offense, and they just really concentrate on defense when they're in their zone. They clog up the middle. They don't let many shots get through. There were low shots on goal totals for each team, but not because they weren't shooting, just because very few of the shots actually got through. The girls did a really good job of blocking shots before they got to the goaltenders, and both goaltenders played well. Claire Combs for the Storm and Parker Bartholomew for the Ice Bears. It was a 1-1 game, went into overtime, and then something that you just don't see very often in overtime. Bartholomew went down and covered a puck in front of the Bay Area's net, and one of the Storm skaters, tried to pitchfork the puck loose from underneath her glove, and promptly got knocked on her ass by a Bay Area defenseman. Um, and the referee immediately called a penalty on the Bay Area defenseman, but nothing on the Storm player who initiated the action by jabbing the down goalie. And we were situated, it was on the Norbert rink at Cornerstone. That's right above the players' benches. And you could see the big grin on the face of the Storm skater who started that play. You know, she knew she got away with one and she thought it was quite humorous. And then the Storm scored with 2 seconds left on that power play. So yeah, being a former official, I never thought that the officials determine the outcome of a game, but that's just not. I've talked to several officials, including our Wisconsin Prep Hockey's favorite official, and it was pretty much unanimous from everybody that I talked to that either you are going to penalize both players or you're just going to let it go and not penalize either one. Nobody agreed on just penalizing the defender who knocked the player down after the jab at the goalie. So,
Well, the officials on the ice agreed with that assessment.
huh?
The officials on the ice agreed that they should just give it to the one.
Well, those weren't the ones that I interviewed, I guess, afterwards. But that was it anyway. Yeah. So Bay Area came away with a 2-1 win in that one. And it was, like I said, it was a good game and nice drive home afterwards.
The Storm came away with a 2-1 win.
Sure, that's what I said, isn't it?
Yeah, I just misheard you.
Okay.
Right. That was our games of the week from 2 weeks ago. And then last week was holiday tournament week. And these two have a lot to talk about. So we'll start with Dell.
Thanks, Junior. On Thursday, I went to the Wisconsin Prep Hockey Holiday Classic on placement day to see where everybody ended up at the end of the tournament. The seventh place game was between the Sabres and the Fury. The interesting part about this was the Sabres came in having won 7 of their last 8 games, while the Fury had come into the tournament on a 7-game winning streak, and they both lost their first 2 games of the tournament. And this here game showed just how close it was, as at the end of regulation, we were still tied at 0, and the Sabres ended up winning it in overtime at the 251 mark with the goal to come away with a 1-0 win. But it was one of those games that could have went either way all along. The consolation game was between 2 Eastern Shores Conference teams, the Warbirds and the Fox City Stars. And watching this game actually showed you how physical a girls' game can be without there being checking involved. Nice plays of both teams being near the boards with the puck and being rubbed off the puck and everything. And first period of this game ended up scoreless, but it was the second period where the sin bin is who benefited the most from what was going on the ice. The Stars picked up 4 minor penalties in the period, and the Warbirds 2. And both teams ended up scoring 2 goals in that period. So at the end of 2, we were still tied up. Only it was 2-2. And then it was the third period that the Stars put it away with a 3-1 scoring to win the game 5-3. The third place game was between the Hurricanes and the Black River Falls Tigers. And this game was really dominated by Hayward. Hayward lost their semifinal game to Bay Area Ice Bears 4-3. And Black River Falls had lost their semifinal game to the ECA Stars by a score of 4-3. But this game, it was 1-1 at the end of the first period, 2-1 at the end of 2, and then 2 more goals by Hayward in the final period to win it 4-1. And the championship game was Bay Area Ice Bears trying to get back-to-back championships out of the Holiday Classic, and they took on Eau Claire area Stars, and they just dominated this game. They were up 6-1 after the end of 2 periods, put another one in the third period to win this game 7-1. And so they ended up claiming back-to-back Holiday Classic championship. And so then on Friday, I made a trip down to Madison and caught part of the third place game between the Fusion and the Lynx. And actually, when I left this game at the end of 2 periods, the Fusion led this game 4-2, and it was late. It was early in the third period that Lynx tied it back up at 4, and the Fusion go on to win it 5-4 in overtime. Sunby had 4 points out of the 5 goals for the Fusion in this one, and it was Stebbins that scored the 2 goals in the third period to help the Lynx get this into overtime. But the championship game of that, as I said, it was 2 of the best teams in the state matching up, the Superior Spartan and Central Wisconsin Storm. This game was extremely close all the way through. At the end of the first period, it was 2-1 Superior. They scored the first goal 28 seconds in. Autumn Cooper made a pass back to one of her teammates who slammed it into the net between the goalie and the post, right up close for it. And then at 2:04, the Storm tied it up at 1, and a minute later, the Superior scored to make it 2-1. Central Wisconsin Storm took advantage of a 5-on-3 power play in the second period to tie the game up at 2. And I'm not going to get into how that became a 5-on-3, but it was, a very good game. Superior scored the winning goal almost halfway through the third period to win the game 3-2. Great game. Look forward to seeing these teams play each other again. Unfortunately, that could very well be in the Sectional 1 title game during the playoffs. And with that, I'll turn it over to Bill.
Thanks, Dell. Yeah, and we'll go back to Burglar for the tournament games he saw.
Yeah, first I made the short drive back to the old stomping grounds there in Antigo. Hadn't been in the hockey rink in Antigo, probably about 3 or 4 years since I've been in there. Hasn't changed a whole lot. Before the first game was DC Everest and Antigo, and the fun of that game was the 2 Benells in net. Nolan Benell for Antigo and Griffin Benell for DC Everest. Griffin Benell is the son of Nate Benell, who, as everybody remembers, was the first line center on the Antigo 1993 state championship WIAA team. The other Benell, his dad is Brian Benell, who is the coach of the Antigo Red Robins this year. And when Brian Benell was a senior, his dad, Mike Benell, was the coach of the Antigo Red Robins. So the whole family was there. Well, except for Eric. For some reason, Eric wasn't there. Apparently he doesn't do hockey anymore. but the whole family was there. Got to talk to some of them afterwards. Well, talking between periods and stuff. Mike Bonnell was the guy who actually got me into reffing. Well, technically, I got myself into reffing because I was a coach, and we had hockey days in Antigo, which is always a big thing. All the teams play at home. Everybody's in. All the people come out, fill the stands. Hockey days, big celebration. I was coaching squirt team. The Levick brothers were reffing, and they like to ref with their hands in their pockets and not call a whole lot of stuff that'll slow down the game. And we were playing a team from the UP, where they play, a little bit more physical style of hockey, even at the squirt level. And I was getting frustrated with the officials, and I let one of them have it in front of a whole packed thing, and my voice carried and was very loud. And anyway, his mother, Gail Levick, kind of ran the kitchen, and she was not anybody to be messed with in Antigo hockey world. She was the keeper of the secret Antigo chicken dumpling soup recipe. So I didn't hear from her, but I heard she asked somebody else, if he's all high, well, why isn't he out there reffing? I mean, he skates with the men's group. He coaches. He thinks he knows the rules of hockey. Why isn't he out there reffing? And I didn't have an answer for that. So I went down to see Mike Bonnell, who was in charge of our referees at the time, and I signed up to become an official. So I really became a hockey official as penance for being a jerk. And I kept it up for almost 30 years, being a hockey official and a jerk. And then I also had to go down and see Mike Bonnell a couple years later, because he was also in charge of the umpires for the youth baseball program. And, I liked being yelled at so much in the winter. I figured, I might as well get yelled at in the summer. I'm playing baseball too. But that's a little side note. But my favorite side note from umping was I was doing a senior league game, and I didn't hear this directly, but apparently there was somebody in the stands said, that looks like that asshole Bill Berg umping behind the plate. And my daughter Kathy turned around and said, well, yes, that is my dad umping behind the plate. Because she was there because I think her boyfriend's brother was playing. So she was there with him. So anyway, that's a little rundown on the Bonnell family. Well respected by everybody in Antigo, and for good reason. But anyway, they played DC Everest in that first game, and Everest won. And then after that game, Amory was coming in, so we got to talk to our good friends Tim Hemingsgard and Matt Humple, the coaches of Amory. It's the last time we'll be able to say that, because Matt Humple is hanging it up. He said this is his 28th season, but he's about done. But he informed me of a couple of things that are going to be coming up. The middle border, I forgot who he said they were, but the middle border is going to add 2 teams next year to make it an 8-team conference, play each other one time, and then have a conference tournament. We like that.
As God intended.
Yes. And he also said that Division II, it may break up the Great Northern Conference hold on Division II, because Ashland is getting rid of whoever else is in their co-op, and Shawano, who dumped Clintonville this year, is going to be dumping Bonduel next year, so that Shawano and Ashland will be lone single schools, and they're smaller schools, so they will be Division II, which means two other teams will move up. But if you look at the makeup of Section 2, Ashland and Shawano, my guess would be Ashland and Shawano are going to slip into Section 2, and perhaps Pacelli and Wapaka, being the 2 southernmost schools, will be moving out somewhere. So depends on which schools move up from Division 2 to Division 1. But I thought that was interesting. Oh, back to that Anago versus Everest game. Eli Kassler and Owen Dickman, two skaters for Anago, best players on the ice. Unfortunately for Anago, the next 10 best players on the ice were all evergreens. So Kassler and Dickman did all the scoring, but they're just, yeah, they need some help. Neither of them are seniors, so they should get some help next year moving up for Anago. I did check right now. Eli Kassler leads the state in goals this year. I think he's got 26. So he is the top goal scorer in the state at the moment. The second game, Amory and Shawano. I was really impressed with the Shawano goalie, Dylan Prohaska. Prohaska. Um, did a marvelous job in that game. I mean, they were just Amory, top ranked Division II team in the state. We're just all over him. They threw 22 shots at him in the first period, and he only gave up 3 goals in that first period. And then inexplicably, at the start of the second period, there was somebody else in goal for Shawano. And in 7 minutes, the score went from 3-0 Amory to 9-0 Amory, and they put Dylan Prohaska back in, and the game ended up 9-0. But I didn't really stick around. We didn't even stick around at the end of the game. Once it got to 9-0, Brett and I just left. So I don't know why they switched goalies, but unless their goal is to get to running time, it whatever other reason they may have had, it didn't really work. But that was Anago. Then from there we went to Cornerstone. Where we saw Chippewa Falls again. We saw them playing against St. Mary's Springs. And it was a very similar game to the game I saw Chippewa Falls play against Wausau West. The game started out favoring Springs. Springs outshot Chippewa Falls 6-5 in the first period and scored the only goal in the first period. The picture with the exploding water bottle was the goal Chippewa Falls scored in that period. And for Springs, their goalie was Brendan Giertig. In the second period, again, Chippewa Falls fast and deep. They just wore them down. Shots were 6-5 Springs in the first period. In the second period, they were 22-5 in favor of Chippewa Falls, but Giertig kept the puck out of the net, and it was still 1-0 Springs after 2 periods. But things did finally. He ran out of luck. The pressure from Chippewa Falls is just too much. They scored twice in the third period, ended up winning 2-1. But again, Chippewa Falls outshot Springs 14-0 in that third period. So I don't know whether they start out slow or whether the other team has to work so hard to keep up with them that they just wear them down, and they've just dominated second and third periods in both games where I saw them play. The other game I saw was Wausau West and Madison Edgewood. That was back and forth. Well, not back and forth. Edgewood scored a couple of goals, then West would come back and Edgewood would score, and West would come back and Edgewood would score again. But they couldn't. They never did get to tie the game. And Edgewood, I mean, we had them ranked number 1. I didn't really see any like outstanding or standout players on Edgewood, but they're solid and deep. The only disappointing part was I didn't get to see Rowan White play. They started their other goalie, who's also very good and could probably start for many other teams in the state. What else we got there? Oh, I also got to talk to Matt Carey when I was there. Matt Carey, who's written several articles for us recently, kind of become a regular contributor. He was there. Well, he was there because he got a kid playing on Chippewa Falls. But he also scouts for Cal Roadhouse, who does the HP18 team that plays in that NIT tournament over in Minnesota in the spring. So he does some scouting for him, looking mainly at, like, well, juniors and sophomores. There were a couple of guys he was interested in talking to that were there. He also told me that to keep an eye on this player from Tomahawk, who we're going to be seeing probably on Thursday, Austin Lamer, a defenseman for Tomahawk, who's only a sophomore and only 5'9". No, he's a junior. 25, class of 25, junior. Okay. But yeah, apparently he can do wonderful things with the puck. So I'm interested in seeing that. He was also telling me about Spash, Grant Molsky and Jackson Schrader. Apparently they're quite the dynamic duo. So it was good. I got to go around a bunch of rinks and talk to a bunch of people and have a good time. I like holiday tournaments. That's it.
And you didn't even talk about your oopsie.
No, they don't need to know about that.
Scheduling error. All right, thank you, gentlemen. Moving on to our Best Western Premier Park Hotel Players of the Week. For the 2-week period, our boys player of the week is Drew Sparacino, senior defenseman and captain of the Brookfield Stars. On Friday, the 22nd of December, he had 2 goals in an 8-2 win over Marquette. Saturday, the 23rd, he had 2 goals and 2 assists in an 11-1 win over Waukesha. Both Marquette and Waukesha have gotten top 6 votes, but Brookfield spanked them both pretty hard before Christmas. And then over the holiday, he spent it in Minnesota. He had a goal in their 3-1 loss to Proctor. No points in their 2-1 win over Osseo, but he's a defenseman, so that's to be expected. And then he had an assist in their 6-5 win over Hopkins in their tournament in Minnesota. And then on the girls' side, our Best Western Premier Park Hotel Player of the Week is Kendall Sunby, senior defenseman of the St. Croix Valley Fusion. She had a goal and an assist in a 3-2 win over Hudson on the 19th, a goal and 2 assists in a 9-0 win over Cooley Region on the Thursday, the 21st. Saturday, the 23rd, she had 2 goals and an assist in a 5-3 loss to Superior. Then after the holiday, on the 27th, Wednesday, she had 4 goals and a 4-0 win over the Wisconsin Valley Union. Thursday, the 28th, she had 2 goals in the 4-2 loss to the Central Wisconsin Storm. And then on Friday, the 29th, she had a goal and 3 assists in a 5-4 win over Madison Metro. So Kendall Sunby had a buttload of points in those 6 games over 2 weeks, counting for a goal and an assist on just about all of their goals, except for their blowout win over Cooley Region. Then moving on to our top 6s. Despite the fact we skipped last week with the top 6s, Division 2 has not changed. Amory is number 1, New Richmond is 2, Oregon is 3, Lakeland is 4, River Falls is 5, and McFarland is 6th. Also receiving votes are Menominee, Somerset, St. Mary's Springs, and Tomahawk. And it's worth noting that Amory, New Richmond, Oregon, and Lakeland, I believe, all received at least 1 first-place vote. On the girls' side, Superior is still number 1. Central Wisconsin moves back up into the second spot, and St. Croix Valley moves back down to the 3rd spot. Bay Area goes up to 4th. Hudson drops down to 5th. And Hayward comes in. They were not ranked last week. Also receiving votes were the University School of Milwaukee. And then in Division 1, it's all topsy-turvy. Spash moves up 3 spots to number 1. Chippewa Falls moves up 3 spots to number 2. Brookfield drops 2 spots to number 3. Bayport drops 1 spot to number 4. Madison Edgewood drops 4 spots to number 5. and Eau Claire Memorial takes over the 6th spot. They were not ranked last time. Also receiving votes were the Avalanche Co-op down in La Crosse. They're 10-2 right now, as well as Hudson, Notre Dame, and Waukesha.
Yeah, it's interesting to note that, I mean, there's a lot of movement on the boys' side, primarily because with the exception of Brookfield, all those teams were playing each other. They were either in Green Bay or in Appleton.
Yes.
And
And I
yeah.
looked up something you may or may not find interesting. The goalie for for Bayport, whose name suddenly escapes me. Let me grab it here. Devin Russley. He's been their goalie for 3 years now, starting as a sophomore. In the last 3 seasons, he has played St. Mary Springs, Neenah Menasha Hortonville, Notre Dame, or Spash 18 times, which is a lot. That game against Spash, that last game they played against Spash, was the first time he's ever given up 6 goals as a varsity hockey player. Despite playing those 4 very high-powered offensive teams 18 times. So Spash worked very hard for their new #1 ranking. All right, and then our upcoming games of the week. Tuesday, Dell is going to be in Black River Falls to see Northland Pines taking on Black River Falls. Of course, Northland Pines this year absorbed what was the Northern Edge last year, so Northland Pines is quite the group now, taking on the Black River Falls Co-op. That'll be Tuesday. And then Thursday, Burglar and I are going up to Minocqua to see Tomahawk take on Lakeland.
Yeah, I want to see Tomahawk. I was surprised when I saw that they were in that tournament over in Appleton. Because that's a lot of high-powered teams that were over there. I mean, Spash and Bayport were there. Superior was there, and then there's Tomahawk. And I mean, I wasn't surprised that Tomahawk lost all 3 games they played. What I was surprised at was the scores. They were in every game. They were competitive against, some very high-powered opponents, mostly Division 1.
Yeah, and like even the scores are kind of misleading. Shots against Neenah and Superior were both basically even, and Tomahawk actually outshot University School by quite a margin in the game that they ended up the 3rd game of the tournament that they lost. So this is Tomahawk. They're not that far removed from some really rough seasons where they were just winning a handful of games, if that. And now they're getting top 6 votes, and they're currently undefeated in GNC play.
Yeah, I did look at their schedule, and I thought, was something entered wrong? Because they've played Mosinee twice and they split with Mosinee, but only the first one counted as a conference game because they only play each other once in conference and the tournament. So the second one was not a conference game. So they are both teams, Lakeland and Tomahawk, are both unbeaten in the great GNC this year. So that should be a good game.
Does Austin Lamer own a bus company?
I don't know that.
There's a lot of Lamer's buses up here in northern Wisconsin. Getting to our final thoughts for this week, Burglar mentioned something when we were just talking at his house the other day. We had talked during couple of our net guard discussions that besides the cut proof net guards that people are wearing now, net guards used to have a hard plastic piece in them, in case you got hit in the neck with a puck. And that is exactly what happened to a Chippewa Falls player at one of the games Burglar was at. A player took a puck to the neck and went down on the ice. Thankfully, I believe he was fine. But again, net guards important, not just for cuts.
Yeah, the ideal net guard would have obviously the Kevlar cut proof thing, but also at least a semi-rigid pad in the front, because It was a slap shot that, it deflected off somebody's stick, but that didn't really slow it down. It just changed the trajectory and hit him right in the throat. And down he went.
Actually,
Any
What I
other-
didn't understand was that they blew the whistle because he was like down on the ice and injured and stuff. And they had the face off outside the zone, even though it was in his defensive zone. So I don't know why they did that. Didn't seem important at the time, but
I was gonna say, did they mark it from the shot location? But that would have been inside the zone anyway.
that was inside the zone.
Any other thoughts this week, gentlemen?
Once again, I know that Jim Hayes has sent out another email this last couple days about the Hobie Baker Award to both the boys and girls coaches. Just to keep it on your radar. We're actually in January now, so and those votes need to get turned in the beginning of February. So
And despite my best efforts, if you recall our conversation with Coach Brandt 2 weeks ago, where I said I feel like I shouldn't have to send a reminder to the coaches to send in their top 6 votes. Got a whole bunch of votes today after I sent out a reminder. So apparently that's just going on the schedule now. Sometime on Sunday, I'll be sending out an email reminder to the coaches to send in their top 6 votes. All right, I think that's it for us. So for Bill Berg and Del Scanlon, I'm Bill Berg Jr. See you next week on This Week in Wisconsin Prep Hockey.